everybody, and welcome to Break Time Conversations, a YouTube channel where I have conversations around education. I have been a teacher all my life, and education fascinates me. And along my journey, I have met and continue to meet so many interesting and inspiring people. And so I decided to document my conversations with them here so that you too can hear their stories and the amazing work that they do. I'm here today with Sheetal. She's someone I've never met, but I came across her teacher author posts on LinkedIn, and that's how I contacted her. So she has moved from being a primary school teacher to publishing children's literature. And I think she also conducts workshops and things like that. So I'm just going to hand it over to Sheetal. Sheetal, thank you so much for being here. And why don't you tell us all about teacher author?
Thank you so much, Anupamaji, for having me over. And so, I'll start right away. Teacher author is primarily my organic journey. As you just shared, I started from being a primary school teacher in a remote school called Digantar, which is based out of Jaipur, Rajasthan, in the outskirts. So the children who were there, they were like first generation learners, right? So it was all new because I also started as my first workspace after I completed my bachelor's in elementary education from Delhi University. It's still a new course. People are still trying to understand what teacher education and why and how. So this was back in 2009 when I entered the classroom. The first language that children actually spoke there or understood and were very vocal about was the main regional language. So which I wasn't very, very comfortable with, but they did, obviously they do understand Hindi. So during a BLEd course, we were exposed to a lot of children's literature. So as a student, we were asked, we were pushed to prepare some good lesson plans and look at libraries as a functional space and what all, the documents keep talking about. So as a class teacher for 30 minds, I was like thinking how to go about language education, given the time that we have in the interaction around Hindi and also English as a second language. So basically I started, translating or doing storytelling sessions for my students. So whatever I had read or was exposed to, I kind of took them to my classrooms from Delhi. So and I kind of put my students' name into those protagonists. So for example, if there's an Anupama, so Anupama is the protagonist, and I instantly found the children kind of connected to it. They wanted to ask questions. They wanted to solve problems like the protagonist. So there were many good literature that actually fortunately I had access to. One of them is Pippi Lamemose, Pippi Longstocking. It's written by a Sweden author, Astrid Lindgren, one of my favorite. And this one's published by Tulika. It's translated in Hindi. But as a protagonist, Pippi is a 9-year-old who's, very, very energetic, very strong, can even hold a horse and, can fight policemen. And so she kind of breaks all kinds of stereotypes, gender, social constructs like caste or, relationships or the idea of family. So when I took such protagonists to my classroom, I thought there's something very, very universal about such characters like Pippi. And what I did as a language teacher was, I put some literary piece, like 4 lines on Pippi, a question by Pippi to my 30 children. And actually children started to engage, reading, writing, wanting to talk more. And that actually got me more into language education, whereas I was a mathematics teacher when I had a pedagogy during BLA. But that's how the interest kind of shifted. So then I moved out of Digantar, while I was into, informally scripting some stories and poems in Hindi and English. I then joined another school in Haryana. And I saw a similar attraction by my students, the curiosity that they, come to a piece of literature with. So that kind of pushed me to again, like, script some good literature that's contextually meaningful for them. And then the engagement kind of just started when pandemic hit 2020 and I lost my job. So I was like, what do I do now in my life to just stay sane and do something? So I thought, why not use this skill of writing literature for children and share it with my colleagues who might be interested? So it's only in June 2020 that I thought I kind of sat with a mentor who's been exceptional in helping design and build on resources, and thinking about how organizations or teachers can be brought into this program. So we just sat, designed a program, brought a lot of literature, good literature that was like critical pieces, not just for pleasure and entertainment, but what actually children can read, identify, and ask questions around. So that's how actually teacher author, that just started as an idea in June 2020 and just started as an experiment. Then it actually has flourished, and I'm so happy to share that we are running our 13th batch now. So yeah, that is how it came into being.
Wow. So it's as new as it's as old as the pandemic, in other words, teacher
Yeah.
author. Oh,
Yes.
that's a lovely story. So, I know you mentioned that you were a maths teacher, but were you ever interested in writing? Before that, did you ever write at all, or is this something that you jumped into based on the need that you saw in the classroom?
Right, right. So BLED as a course, definitely we have pedagogical courses like history, science, and mathematics, but language is actually looked at very critically because it actually, the way it travels across curriculum, right? So we were pushed to write, or not write maybe, but yeah, procure some good literature. But in my classroom, there was a lot of freedom that I kind of experienced, that I could write one question and children wanting to answer that. It also gives them the opportunities to to say somebody is listening or somebody is wanting to know what I think. So even a one liner question, an interesting question, kind of helped me see how they were responding. Yeah, formal writing kind of grew when Digantar happened.
Yeah, okay, very nice. Oh, yeah, and I wanted to mention that I love Pippi Langstrumpf as well, and I read those to my daughter. I read her book to my daughter. So yeah, so that brought back nice memories. So tell me more about the teacher author workshops that you do. Do you encourage teachers to teach, or how does it work? I mean, sorry, to write is what I meant.
Right, right. So it's a 5 weekend program, and we in the first, while we are interacting, onboarding them, we tell them that one needs to commit for 5 weekends, because there's a trajectory. We move from themes, and the first thing that we kind of ensure and we kind of tell our colleagues in this journey is that it's a skill, like driving, like learning a new language, like cooking or gardening. It's a skill and it can be learned. But that being said, this is one necessary condition, definitely, but not a sufficient condition, because just with the skill, one cannot actually, one can write literature. But to be able to write good children's literature, we need to have some kind of a framework. So during these 5 weekends, we look at language, the idea of language, and not my language, not Kannada, not Telugu, not Hindi. We look at the idea of language, and what does a primary grade child do with this language? What does she do with construction, with all that's happening over here? So we look at some theoretical frameworks as well, and with that understanding, we look at a variety of literature that's already available in the market on concepts like honesty. It's a universal concept, like truth, or maybe death, losing somebody. So such literature that's already there in the market, we kind of bring them to our dialogue, to our discussion, and encourage them to identify certain experiences that teachers already have. So it becomes easy because teachers have access to what children are getting to them in their classrooms every day, socially, emotionally, cognitively, whatever experience they have. Teachers have direct access to that, not a headmaster or a principal, should say. So using those repertoire of experiences, we engage them to kind of write for children in their language. So in our past 12 batches, we've had people writing in Bundelkhandi, in Chhattisgarhi, in Hindi, English, Gujarati, so in regional languages. So this also comes from the need to identify that there's a limited resource of good literature that's available in regional languages. And that's why teacher author, encouraging teachers to just write in the language of their learners. So yeah. that's what we do.
That is beautiful. You brought two things that are very close to my heart together, and I love it. I love children's books. I love teachers, and you're bringing both of them together. That is beautiful, Sheetal. I'm so happy to hear this wonderful story of yours, your journey, and I just hope that you do
Thank you.
more and more. So before we end our conversation, I'd just like to ask, what are your next plans? Any plans for the future?
Right, right. I hope this pandemic kind of, at least we get used to it very soon. And the plan with teacher author is the material that teachers have already written. We're trying to make them accessible to the students, especially to the government school children. So that's in the pipeline. Let's see how it kind of goes, because that's the objective. You just don't keep material for market buyers, but make it accessible. Apart from the literature that they have access to in terms of textbooks, that's again a limited resource. But yeah, to kind of also move into the aspect of teacher education programs like BLA. So we are inviting organizations as well, to partner with them and collaborate with them. And we are very fortunate, actually. This pandemic has also, helped me meet so many people, and they've been generous. So we're trying to build some kind of partnership with schools, organizations, so that they can invest on their teachers in this journey. Let's see where we go.
Lovely, lovely. So, anyone here listening to this conversation, I will put all Sheetal's details in the description box, so you can please reach out to her and help her continue this wonderful journey of hers. Sheetal,
Thank you so much,
thank you
Anupma.
so much for being here. Thank you for
It was a pleasure.
sharing your journey with us, and all the best with everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was lovely interacting with you.